When I'm not culturing myself through the translation feature on YouTube comments, I like to answer questions and comments that I get on YouTube, so let's get to it. A palm muting video would be dope. Maybe you already released one, and I'm not seeing it yet, though. Palm muting. This is probably the one guitar technique that I use more than anything else. I am always palm muting, right? There's a couple different reasons you might want to do it. You might want to do it just for a certain type of sound. You might want to do it as a volume control for playing live, etc., etc. I had no idea what palm muting was when I first started because it's a stupid name for what it is. Basically, here's a clean chord progression. Palm muted. Same thing with single notes. Clean, muted. Okay, so there's really a lot that you can do. I love the sound of palm muting. I can't get enough of it. I use it, like I said, I use it every single song I play. There's probably some version of palm muting going on. So we're going to talk a little bit about it, all right? First of all, you don't really use your palm at all. You judo chop the side of the guitar. This is going to be a little bit of a beginner lesson, but also some more intermediate advanced stuff too as we go along. I am going pretty much just to the left of where the bridge is. Now, there's a couple different types of palm muting, and really what we need to do is we need to break up the low strings of the guitar from the high strings of the guitar, okay? What I mean by that, if you're playing power chords and you're palm muting, that's a great place to start. So let's just play a G power chord, 3 on the E string, 5 on the A string, and then just do this, okay? Straight downstrokes, okay? Clean, muted. Okay, you know, I can kind of get away with not having them look much different because it's just where I lay my wrist, all right? Now, it's really kind of like the side of your hand, like I said. Just to the left of the bridge usually gets what I think is the most traditional palm muting sound, okay? So there are just a few things that we want to go over, a few just, you know, kind of cornerstones of it. Basically, it's your hand placement, how you use your hand, and the pick that you use, all right? So, right here, you can see that I'm selectively only hitting the E and the A strings. Selectively hitting the right strings is such an important part of palm muting, right? Because usually when your hand is like this, you're not covering all 6 strings. In fact, if you go to the higher strings, these are ringing out. The low ones are muted, the high ones are ringing out. Now, with chords, that's interesting because what you can do is you can maybe balance out and even out the sound of your guitar, because usually the lower strings on your guitar are louder than the higher strings. So palm muting is one way to even out the sound of what you're doing, right? See, the top is ringing out. So you get like a thud from the low end and then a sustain from the high end. Now, you might not want that. What you might want to do is palm mute everything. So the next thing we're going to do, after you focus on just muting and choking the E and the A strings, is we're going to kind of do a 2-part move, all right? So now this is probably the most important part, and the part that I think people have the most trouble with is getting the high strings muted when they want this type of sound, okay? So now I'm just going to start doing 2 downstrokes, basically 2 stabs at it, all right? So the first one is going to be what we just did. I'm doing this just over E minor chord on a Martin D35. This is a big dreadnought guitar, so it has a depth to it. I'm really kind of choking, not fully choking off, right? How you approach the strings is going to have so much of an effect on the sound. I can really just kind of clamp down, and now I'm just getting totally unsustained mute. As I back up, I'm starting to get some tone that has a little bit of a sustain, but it's like a hollow sustain, right? And again, you'll be able to develop this more to your taste as you start to do it, but the fundamentals of it are going to be the same. So again, there's my first one right here. And then now when I go higher, what I'm doing is I'm actually rotating my wrist a little bit and then laying the side of my hand down the strings. See how I'm doing that? It's like a little bit of a rotation. I'm exaggerating it here. There's an angle at it. Now, what you'll find more prevalent when you're playing a full song is you're actually jumping a little bit. So, for example, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now, Now, the strumming part of here is really important because I'm really thinking of breaking this up almost as a drum kit, right? So I'm hitting the high strings with a percussive thud with my hand on maybe like the 3 count. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or just, you know, the 2 count. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4. However the count is, wherever you want that emphasis. So now I'm getting a little bit of both worlds. I'm getting the low and then the high part, right? Like that. And what this allows me to do is if I'm playing a song with similar chords, the next part of the song I can just get bigger and louder. And you see my whole hand now is resting over these. But it is different when you're just going on the lower strings versus jumping into the higher strings. The next thing I want to talk about is actually the pick, right? This video is actually sponsored by Black Mountain Picks. Check these out. This is a Tagua vegetable ivory pick. These are wild, actually. Now, I've used some kind of different alternative material picks that I like the sound of, but they're always slippery. This fixes the problem because it adds a piece of cork in the center of these. Black Mountain is a really cool company. They make innovative stuff. They've done like my favorite guitar slide in the game for sure. They do thumb picks and stuff. But this one is really cool because they designed this to sound really good on acoustic guitars specifically. Again, just wide open. It really feels great, but it isn't so bright that a lot of the alternative pick material stuff is. And then when you palm mute it. And the reason that I like this so specifically for acoustic guitar and palm muting is because of the cork. The cork really forces you to hold the pick in pretty much the same way, because what you really need to do is understand how much of your pick is available for how much of the string that you're hitting. And if you have an inconsistent way that you're holding your pick, the distance between your pick and the strings and where the palm sits on the guitar is always going to be different. So the nice thing about having this piece of cork in the middle is it forces you to hold the pick in pretty much the same, or you have like at least a good idea of how you want to hold the pick in the same way the other way. And then you can find a place that is comfortable for your hand. And then it's always going to be a very repeatable way to palm mute the guitar. And then when you want to like back off it, you just lift your palm up, right? So again, what the most important thing, and we'll do an example where it's just a C major 7 chord. So I've got 3E, 3A, 2D. So I'm fretting the low strings and then I have the high strings open. This is a great exercise to really kind of narrow this down because you're always going to get some bleed from open strings on the top. If you can really focus on just locking your wrist, the side of your hand, to that bridge in a way that you're still getting some tone from the lower fretted strings. And again, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up is a great way to do this, or just down, up. That teaches you to kind of use your wrist in a way where, you know, your wrist is pushing through, starting with your thumb, but without having to come off and use your arm. And then you can still get the higher strings in that little jump. Again, I'm arriving with the strings, hitting my wrist to the bridge at the same time. So I can still get that open end if I want. And then I have such a huge dynamic control. Think of how like low I can bring this. I'm eventually driving it. So again, these are things to think about. Breaking the string set into the low part and the high part, and then thinking of just being able to repetitively maybe even play a string muted scale. And then go deeper into the scale, right? I'm just playing the G major scale. And see how like as I'm going through the string set, my wrist is really just accommodating for where the pick is. And you'll see that like through the sound hole, I'm actually kind of like maybe I'm starting in the middle of the sound hole and I end here, more towards like the back half of the sound hole. So as I'm going through this scale, you can see that I'm actually accommodating for not having to move the angle of my palm, right? So I'm not like here muting these strings and then having to like shift my arm down. It's more like my hand kind of comes to the side, right? And that's kind of an important part of being able to palm mute effectively, right? So hopefully these are some tips that helps, because I do think the palm muting, whether you're doing something super high gain, I've been doing a lot of high gain stuff in the live performance videos I've been posting, like a lot of it has to do with choking and palm muting the lower string and then sustaining the top end of whatever it is you're playing. Again, that works great in high gain stuff, it works great on acoustic guitar, and it sounds great with these picks. But that's something that I don't hear people talk about a lot, is really kind of breaking the guitar into thinking of it as two parts, the low end and the high end, and then approaching how you mute those strings a little bit differently with each technique. Excuse me, can we talk about the vocalist for a minute? Outstanding. Yeah, so this was actually on a different Martin guitar video. This is the 00DB, this is the Jeff Tweedy one, and I did a review or a demo of this guitar, and at the end of it, we had my singer in the band that I'm in, Lilu, sing Jesus Etc., which is my favorite Wilco song. And yeah, Lilu is an incredible singer. We also just kind of like threw something together for the end of that Astrolab demo that I think is so cool. So please go watch those videos if you want, because Lilu actually crushes it every single song that she does. Incredibly like an A+ elite talented vocalist. So let us know if you have any like cover requests, because we're always making music, and we'd like to hear what you guys want to hear. And the song that we're performing in that video, Jesus Etc., I just taught it over on my Patreon. That's actually a great song to learn for palm muting, because it's 3 distinct parts, and there's a lot of kind of hammer-on stuff going on with it too. And it's all that kind of palm muted style. Check it out.
I remember when you first started your channel, The Secret Between Chords and Scales. Sean, what a joke. You're still beginner and unqualified to teach. When and if you ever become an advanced player, then you might be qualified to give lessons.
A beginner and unqualified to teach. What exactly makes you qualified to teach? A decade of people paying you full-time to teach them guitar? I don't know, maybe not, but I'll keep trying my best. I'll keep trying to become more of an advanced player so I can correctly teach. What video was this even on? The link between chords and scales that nobody taught you. Advanced stuff. Guitar, chords, and scales. Maybe if I get a little more advanced at understanding how the G major scale works, I'll finally be qualified enough to teach it. Signature guitar. Oh man, nice. Can you give me a discount? Oh, you mean the Sean Daniels Signature Martin guitar, Sweetwater exclusive? Yeah, I can give you a discount. They're actually $60 off. There's only a few of those left, so definitely go check these out, because come on, guys, the Sean Daniels Signature. How cool does this look? Is this the best in-class guitar under $1,000? Well under $1,000, by the way. Gig ready. We're probably going to be taking this back out on the streets at some point later this week or this weekend. So stay tuned for some more gig vlogs, because the SD Martin is going to be hitting the streets soon. Grab one while they're still available. For listening homework this week, I'm going to throw you to one of my favorite songs of the year. This is called Thank God for Alicia. It is by Valley Boy. Criminally underrated artist. You guys gotta listen to this song. It's really one of my, this is my #1 favorite song that came out this year. So check that out. Thank you so much to Black Mountain Picks for sponsoring the video. I will have a link in the description if you want to check out this super cool pick. Like I said, sounds great. Hear it for yourself across acoustic guitar, electric guitar, whatever. Sounds really great. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to answer them. Hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, or the website, and I will see you soon.